Well, good morning from the beautiful village of Peak Forest. It's really good to be back out in the Peak District. Today there's a couple of places I've already been to that I'm just going to revisit, but there's also a few places which I've not actually been to before, which I want to have a look at. I'm certainly walking places I've not walked before, paths and roads and tracks I've not walked before. So far so good. I put this route together just by looking at the map, working out where I wanted to go, and then working out what paths there were available to take me to the places I wanted to go to. And as a result, I've kind of found myself walking paths which I'm pretty sure don't get walked very often. I don't think many people come along here. This has got to be the most random signpost I've ever seen. That concession footpath isn't even marked on the map. Just up here the map marks a cairn, and you can just see something. Just gonna go have a look. So I have no information about this, but it does seem to be a barrow, and it does seem to have been excavated. Wow. I think it would have been quite impressive. Right, well, in this direction is Perrydale. That's not where we're going today. Wow, look at that with the sun. So, I've only ever seen this from above, and it's vast. Look at it. So this is Eldon Hill Quarry. My first time to actually be in the quarry. I've been on Eldon Hill and I've looked down that vast drop into the quarry, but never actually been inside before. This used to be part of Eldon Hill itself. Literally, the hillside has been quarried out, and some might consider that to be an act of sacrilege, because some believe that the name Eldon derives from Elves' Den, and that Eldon Hill is actually a place, a special place, a magical place, a thin place, a place where you can actually gain entrance to fairyland. And quarrying has literally carved away the hillside. Huge pieces of the hillside are now missing. As you can see, the quarry is now disused. One thing that came out of the quarrying was a bunch of caves were discovered. And these are proper caves, which you really need to be in. You really need to have the right gear, the right equipment, the right knowledge and experience to go in. So I'm not going to be going in any of those caves, but we might have a quick look at the entrances. Can see a cave entrance there, and I believe there's a few more up there, including a fairly recent discovery. I've got a couple of options there. There is like a trackway that takes you along, contours along that ridge there. I do want to do that, but first I'm gonna take this track down into the bottom of the quarry itself. So there are, I think, 4 named caves here around this quarry. I did read an interesting account. I can't remember which one it was, but they were crawling face first, head first, down quite a narrow passage, and came face to face up against a badger coming the other way, and there was no room to turn round, so they had to backpedal and go out backwards. I'm not sure if that opening is actually a cave or just like an alcove. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, that's not a cave. I can see like potential caves over there. And I think that's where the caves are. I think they're on these ridge lines. It's so vast. And there's no one here. Here you've got lots of water coming out of the rocks themselves by the looks of it. That's what it looks like. Look how fast those clouds are moving. It's a very strange experience being in a quarry this size and this deep, with these towering cliffs, and being here all by yourself, walking around. You feel really small and really insignificant, and yeah, it's a bit of a strange feeling. So I've just made my way back up. I'm going to see if I can follow that track along and see what we can see, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the entrances of some of the new caves. Unfortunately, can't really walk along here. It's collapsed in multiple places, and in the places where it hasn't collapsed, boulders have fallen down, blocking the way. So unfortunately not. Interesting to see that a couple of people have parked their cars along this road. It's a little sidetrack that I've never noticed before. Although I've been on Eldon Hill before, it was only one time and I didn't come this way. So this track ascends up the side of the quarry, and I think it's via this track, or I'm guessing it's via this track, that the cavers access the caves, which I think are on one of the ledges below where I'm stood, or close to where I'm stood. I think they possibly have to abseil down to get to it. If we got any cavers watching, maybe you could let us know. I'm now properly on Eldon Hill, or what remains of it after huge chunks have been carved out. And if you look on the old maps, you'll see all kinds of features here. You'll see all kinds of mine shafts, disused quarries, mostly lead quarries, tumuli, and potholes and caves, etc. This spot here is marked on the map as being a tumulus, an ancient burial spot. You certainly can see a number of mounds, but it's difficult when you're here to separate the burial mounds from the quarry works or mining works. But I think, according to the map, I'm literally stood on top of the burial mound right now. And from here, I'm going to head up to what is now the top of Eldon Hill, where there's another tumulus. So here we have a good example of a capped off mine shaft with added fragments of sheep bone. This feature in front of me is marked on the old map as being an old lead mine. Some of the old mines have names, some of them don't. This one doesn't. That doesn't look particularly safe, does it? wasn't expecting to find one of these here. There's the dreaded man tour. So this is the summit of Eldon Hill, and this is also a tumulus, so this is also another ancient burial site. And I'm guessing that rocks from that barrow have been used to make this cairn. This is not Eldon Hole, this is a mine shaft that's been fenced off. Can't get a good look at it. There's also this over here. We've got some great views, it's a pity it's quite hazy. We got more mine shafts here. This one's not capped off, and it's not fenced off either. I think we found the king of the hill. In front of me is Eldon Hole. You can't really tell because it's so overgrown around the sides, but in front of me is Eldon Hole, and over history this has been associated with lots of different things. I think I mentioned earlier that some people believe that Eldon Hill, the name Eldon, is derived from Elves' Den, and then this is the Elves Hole, or an entrance into fairyland. That's one theory about what this was, and I wouldn't be surprised if the fact that there were so many barrows on Eldon Hill that somehow contributed to the belief that there were elves here. Another theory is that this is an entranceway to hell, that this is a hell mouth. Another theory is this is simply a bottomless hole, and another theory is that this connects to Peak Cavern, or the Devil's Arse. It wasn't until fairly recently that they actually surveyed it and found out how deep it is. I'll put the figure on screen. But it's entirely possible that with all the industry that was going on around here, all the digging of holes, etc., that people used Eldon Hole as a tip to pour their rubble, pour their boulders down, and it's entirely possible that this maybe was an entranceway to fairyland or hell, or indeed bottomless, and that all that's happened is it's been clogged up and blocked up by rock from nearby mines or quarries. That's what I like to think anyway. And as you can see, sometimes cavers do abseil down into Eldon Hole. This was named as being one of the wonders of the peak, and back in the day people used to flock here to have a look at Eldon Hole. Not today. There are so many stories and myths and legends regarding Eldon Hole. It was believed that this connected to the Devil's Arse, to Peak Cavern, and that both Peak Cavern and the Devil's Arse were entrances to hell. Apparently wild garlic was grown around the edges of Eldon Hole in order to keep the devil away, or to stop the devil from escaping. At one time, probably the 18th century, I think, they decided to do an experiment to see if this was connected to the Devil's Arse. So they threw a goose, a live goose, down Eldon Hole, and then they went to Peak Cavern, to the Devil's Arse, to see if it would emerge. And apparently 2 days later it emerged. It was terrified, and its feathers were singed with the fires of hell. Another story is that in the 15th century, a man called Charlie Cotton was lowered down Eldon Hole on a mile-long length of rope, and he didn't reach the bottom. In the 16th century, the Earl of Leicester had a local man lowered down on a length of rope. They lowered him down, and eventually when they brought him back up again, the man was so terrified he couldn't speak, and he fell very ill, and he died a couple of days later. In the 18th century, 2 highwaymen forced a young lad to jump into Eldon Hole, and they claimed they could hear the fires of hell. Apparently the real depth is 55 meters, but as I mentioned earlier, I like to think that's not the true bottom. I like to think it's been blocked off, and that this indeed was the entrance to fairyland, or hell, or bottomless. In the 18th and 19th centuries, this was named as being one of the wonders of the peak. And it was, it was like Mantor is today. It would have been full of people coming to visit. I wonder if one day Mantor will be as desolate and as unvisited as Eldon Hole is today. Right, well, I've just had my lunch. Summer has definitely ended. It's quite chilly. I am going to continue the walk. The rest of it is just there's no fixed route. I have a very rough route marked out, but it's really just to go and have a look and explore and check out anything that looks interesting. And there are quite a few things, if you look on the maps, there are quite a few things that look interesting. So hopefully there's a lot more interesting stuff to come. Tell you what, these sheep have amazing horns. Look at that, beautiful. Got some mine shafts here. You probably can't see very much, but that is deep. That is very deep, and it's straight down. And Okay, my plan was to check out some of the old sites for some of the more interestingly named mines that are marked on the map. And all of this area is access land, but unfortunately again we've got an issue that although it is access land, there are barriers, there are obstacles, there are dry stone walls with no obvious way of getting across or getting over. Yeah, unfortunately there doesn't seem to be any way over these dry stone walls. So instead I'm just gonna follow my nose. There seems to be a trail here. Let's see where this goes. Yep, unfortunately I can't get to some of the places I wanted to check out. I was intrigued by the name of the disused mine up there. It's called Clear the Way Mine. What a great name. But look at this. This is an unexpected treat. This is very nice. Somewhere I've not heard of before, certainly not visited before. I think it's called Colliesdale. And it's really annoying because, as I say, this is all... Okay. This is all access land. But there are obstacles. But look at this. I think I just said this was Colliesdale. It's Conniesdale. I've never heard of it. Look at it. It looks marvellous. And I caught sight of some amazing rock overhangs. It's very frustrating that I can't get the other side of this quite tall dry stone wall with barbed wire as well. But look, these are definitely artificial rock overhangs. There are some natural ones as well, like those ones, but there's a really good one just here I can see. The problem with somewhere like this is there's just no way of knowing, no way for me to know how old these are, because these could literally date back to the Neolithic or the Bronze Age, if not earlier, or they could be connected to more recent quarrying or mining. It's so annoying. It's access land, but I can't access it, and it looks really interesting. There could be all kinds of caves there as well. It looks like it goes back quite a way there. This could be ancient. You've even got some colouring. It's good to be back in the White Peak, seeing some spectacular limestone landscape like this. Well, I've really enjoyed walking along this section of Conniesdale. I've seen that there is a Connie's farm up ahead somewhere. So it's just really frustrating that I can't see any way at all of getting the other side of this wall, because even trying to approach from the other side, there is a dry stone wall and a fence line with barbed wire. And then I've reached this. I'm almost at the end of the access land anyway. It ends just up ahead, but it's so frustrating when this is access land but there is no public access. Needlessly, no public access. Okay, just double check the map, and this barrier here, this does actually mark the end of the access land, but the other side of this dry stone wall, this does go down a bit further as access land, and then that comes to an end as well, but we can't get in there. So I don't know what to do now. My plans have been messed up. They were only loose plans anyway, and I'm really happy that I found Conny's Dale. So to be fair, the old quarries and mines that I wanted to check out, from what little I can see of them from a distance, there doesn't seem to be much to actually see. Conny's Dale is far more interesting. So this wall is marking the edge of the access land, but there is a public footpath that I should be able to intersect with. I've always been interested in that wooded hill over there. That's Snell's Low, and it is also the site of a tumulus, a burial mound, an ancient burial mound. Unfortunately, that is all private land, and there is no public access at all. There's no public footpaths that go through, or even particularly close by. Not sure what that is. That's quite interesting. So this wall marks the boundary of the access land. No access land ahead, although there is a public footpath ahead. I've no idea what this is supposed to be. I look at the state of it. How are you supposed to safely negotiate that? This is what I was looking at from the other side of the wall. There's nothing marked on the map. Don't know what it is, but it looks very interesting. You've any idea what this is, please put it in the comments. Okay, so I'm walking along this public footpath. The very bottom of Conny's Dale is just along there. And then I think, according to the map, amongst these trees, hidden by these trees at the moment, is Conny's farm. Here is Conny's farm. It doesn't look anywhere near as old as I thought it was going to look. Maybe it's being rebuilt. But the path takes us right in front of it. So that's interesting. There is a lintel or a stone on Conny's farm that gives the date of 2011. But when I look on the old maps, there is a Conny's farm marked in the same spot. So it must have been completely rebuilt. So we're coming to the end of the walk. We're almost back at peak forest. The walk ended a lot more quickly than I expected because we weren't able to get across to those locations that I wanted to check out, those old mine and quarry locations that are marked on the map. It's really annoying, once again, to be hampered by obstacles whilst walking on access land. But it's still been a really good walk. I really enjoyed exploring the vast Eldon Quarry for the first time. It was good to get back to Eldon Hole. It's good to see a few things on Eldon Hill. And a really nice surprise to walk along Conny's Dale, even though we couldn't get to the really good stuff. At least we could see it, and it was really nice and potentially very important and interesting site. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.